Hello, welcome back to the L1 show Links with Friends. Today's October 24th, and we're doing government and security. I hope, because I didn't catch the thing at the start.
We are doing government and security, even though business and social was massive this week.
It really was.
But you know what? We're just going to stick with the routine. At this stage in the game, as the world collapses, let's just cling to the routine for what comfort it can give us.
Everybody go to your silly little jobs and just don't look at what's happening on the news.
Every week there's 5 or 6 comments that are like that are just like, this is part of my routine now. It's like, okay.
I'm here for that.
Patreon and or float plane for you folks.
You know what else should be part of your routine? A monthly subscription.
You'll get a podcast version. You can listen to it in your car.
Which we haven't done in like 2 months.
No. I'm talking. We do the news one every week, but we need to do like a specific one for subscribers.
We need to do that.
So we need to do that this month.
I've been gone. It's my fault. Also, my mom's cat died.
No, you should say honor demands I be elsewhere.
Yeah.
And just don't elaborate beyond that.
Well, I would love to break that cyclical pain with some good news, but I have some very, very bad news. And this is something that's been coming for a very long time. And we thought for sure that somewhere sanity would weigh out or would win out.
No.
But no.
Colorado Supreme Court upholds controversial Google search warrant in deadly Green Valley Ranch arson case. Google users' search histories are protected by the Constitution, justices found, and yet...
Now that seems contradictory, doesn't it?
It does.
So their ruling was, did they have probable cause? They were like, nah, we don't care. Doesn't really matter if they had probable cause because they acted in good faith.
Also, do you think they picked this image to like find the scariest picture they possibly could?
Yes.
To support this article?
Well, I don't think they had many pictures. That was the problem.
Also, Green Valley Ranch sounds delicious.
Hidden Valley Ranch. Newman's Own.
Unfortunately, these guys are super guilty.
Yeah.
And it was effective, and there were awful people who were caught doing awful things with awful strategies. So now we'll see more of that.
I really hope the justices had said, these are awful people. Let's not set this, let's have this not set precedent, even though these are awful people.
But then we'd have to probably let them go.
Yeah.
Tough. Maybe you might be excited about this one, though. This is, we tried it the other way, and the ISPs pretty much got to do whatever they wanted, right? They were already kind of doing whatever they wanted, but maybe this will help.
The FCC moves ahead with Title II net neutrality rules and 3-2 party line vote. So net neutrality is coming back. But in order for this to actually do anything useful, companies like Netflix would have to go to ISPs and say, hey, the deals we made to get preferential treatment for our traffic, we don't want to pay for that anymore, which they may or may not want to do.
Because they are already in a position to benefit from it and prevent newcomers from taking advantage, which is kind of what happens.
Yeah.
You win and you want to keep winning, so you prevent competition.
Google could also do that with YouTube. I don't know. I'm not privy to know if Google has been negotiating with Comcast or Alphabet and companies like that to make because remember how YouTube was like, oh, this is buffering, find out why. They were trying to win the hearts and minds of people, but people were too stupid to realize what that's doing. So unless you watch this program, in which case, good job.
I mean, we're not able to actually do anything about it, but at least you'll be informed.
There's a couple stories where I'm going to say things like, maybe we should, I don't know. What does it look like when we get organized and we can put a stop to this?
Yeah, but it looks like our organization will be filled with feds. And we would be framed for crimes.
There was that local thing where they're like, we want people's opinion about these new cameras that they're putting in around town. You're like, it would just be me and a bunch of feds.
Yeah. If I went to the meeting, if I actually was able to organize locally, it would be me and a bunch of feds hanging out.
And they keep offering suggestions like, oh, we should firebomb those cameras.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I want to write a letter to my senator, not firebomb them.
Let's go burn something down. What are we doing here? And then I would lose control, but I would still be the figurehead, so I would get prosecuted.
It's almost like they published a playbook that describes exactly that on the internet.
Oh, did you see there was a push this week to denounce Orwell? And it's like, wow, guys.
That has to be a troll, like an amazing troll.
No, they're saying like he was an awful, I guess he was an anti-Semite and of course racist and sexist and so forth. And
I mean, that might be true, but like the books are still relevant.
He called it.
What about like Desi Arnaz? It's like, I mean, he wasn't very nice to Lucy by modern standards either.
Yeah, but he also didn't perfectly predict the playbook for
Yeah.
authoritarianism.
Yeah, if you have to pick a side there, Wendell, you got to pick Lucy because she was the one who greenlit Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting piece of trivia there. That was our second story. Our first story. Let's move on to the second. So this one may be good or bad. I don't know. I don't really care about this technology, so I would hate for any amount of interference to come from it.
FCC greenlights superfast Wi-Fi tethering for AR and VR headsets. This is extreme low power, 6 gigahertz band. The slight tinge of darkness lurking in this is that you also have to be geofenced, which means that your device that's going to use the 6 gigahertz band has to know where that it is so that it won't interfere with licensed uses of the 6 gigahertz band.
Can you imagine you order your $2,000 headset, you live right next to an airport,
Ooh.
and you get it, and it's like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I can't operate in this location.
Whenever the headset's on, the 747s try to land on your house. Oops.
Well, we cut China off from chips, and what we learned that they did was they simply downgraded to the next lower level of chips and bought lots and lots more of them and kind of adapted. So what do we do now?
The U.S. escalates its tech battle by cutting off China from AI chips. But this article describes the H800 and coming chips. So like CNN Business has failed. I was going to write an angry letter in the stories, but then you have a story later where it's like, oh yeah, they also disabled gaming GPUs. Yeah.
Hey.
Look at that. Tom's Hardware was the correct version of this article. U.S. government restricts shipments of GeForce RTX 4090 to China and other countries. Good news for AMD, I suppose.
In fact, the CNN article says they did not limit gaming.
Yeah.
Which was a lie.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want a 4090 in China, you're going to have to get that on the black market.
Or the people at CNN rightly understand that nobody's buying a 4090 just for gaming.
Also, the Chinese economy is collapsing. They can't afford anything, much less gaming.
Just like us. I mean, we can afford stuff, but it's like food, and that's about it.
They also, on that note, were reportedly raising the prices of 4090s.
Yeah, it's gone up slightly.
So, which is weird because it's like, oh, you're not going to sell as many, so obviously I have to pay more. And up at the White House, they are trying to do something about cybersecurity. Of course, again, if you watch this program, you know that week after week, usually on Wednesdays, we will tell you a litany of hacks, patches, and data breaches, and it never stops. No one can secure data. So what's their strategy?
The U.S. is urging allies not to pay hacker ransoms. Refusing to pay a ransom that, leads to loss of data, it's just a thing we're going to have to learn to live with, they say. Great. Somebody get that memo to T-Mobile.
Unfortunately, it doesn't really cost the hackers that much investment.
Yeah.
It's really just time. Maybe a little bit of equipment.
And in these uncertain economic times, hacker ransoms are a sure thing.
Yeah, so if you say no to them, it doesn't really destroy their business. It might annoy them, it might hurt their monthly income, but it's not going to stop them.
And they can still embarrass you.
And then the next guy's going to be like, oh, no, they embarrassed me. And perhaps the second worst story of the week when it comes to whittling away at our freedoms.
New York bill would require a criminal background check to buy, the headline says a 3D printer, but it's not a 3D printer. 3D printer is included in this large umbrella of things that you would have to have a criminal background check to buy, including CNC mills, drill presses, files, saws, things that can shape metal and plastic.
There's, I don't know if it's Brazil or Colombia, but one of those countries, there's like little family businesses, and they make 1911s by hand with files. We're going to outlaw those? Sandpaper?
You need a license for that.
I remember in my machine shop class, it's like one of your first real projects was making your own tools. So you make your own like C-clamps and a screwdriver and a hammer and stuff like that. I mean, it's just, you could just as easily make your own 1911 if you can make a C-clamp and a hammer and a screwdriver.
I don't know about just as easily. I think these people have a lot of skill who are doing it, but
yeah,
it's possible.
It wouldn't be a fabulous one. It wouldn't be like one of those Singer 1911s where it's like, oh no, you're going to be making radar parts. But it'd be pretty good.
Somebody's going to figure it out. There's going to be a demand. And New York is not just restricting your rights when it comes to that. They are actually going after some crypto companies who obviously did some stupid things.
New York sues crypto firms for losing over $1 billion. Oh, the headline was, I think, written by a crypto bro. or crypto person, because you dig into the headlines and this is like the more egregious fraud, Genesis, which we'll learn about from the FTX trial, lulz, and they didn't lose it. It was never like they didn't secure it. It's like, oops, hackers got it. Sorry. That's different.
More damning is they tried to cover it up.
Yeah.
After it happened. So
Yeah. The headline makes it seem like, oh no, they're coming for crypto. There's a place for crypto probably, but that's not what this is.
And this, I feel, is a bit of a lost battle at this point. I'm not sure why they're continuing to focus on this one. It must be a personal vendetta.
U.S. antitrust enforcer says is pressing on with the fight against Microsoft and Activision and their deal to merge. But they've already updated their email addresses. Do you expect them to walk that back now? This is a lost battle.
Now, that was on the 13th, but even on the 13th, we already knew.
Yeah.
And now it has happened.
So sad. And/or congratulations on your layoff. And we've got a preview of what happens to that in the business section when we talk about Bandcamp and Epic.
We need to give a Mike to Lizard. Need to give it a fun.
Oh. There's no good one. There's so many companies all wrapped up in that now.
And the U.S. government over the years has enforced several Bitcoin seizures from people who were doing obviously criminal things about it, and some who might not have been quite so criminal. And what have they done with all those? Well, just been putting them in the big dragon hoard.
U.S. government is a quote-unquote Bitcoin whale with holdings of nearly 200,000 BTC. Now, far be it from me to give you any ideas, but if you start trawling the government surplus, there is probably a double-digit % chance that you can get those wallet keys from equipment that shows up as surplus.
They're on a USB 2.0 jump drive hanging in a broom closet in the White House.
Yeah, it's not a sure thing, but I'm pretty sure that you could probably, it's like, oh, they destroy all the data. They don't. They're very bad at that.
Well, if we had level 1 bingo cards, now would be a surefire spot on one of them.
This is the thing I complain about literally every week.
I need to make that into a t-shirt. I need to get a list of bingo items.
Mathematician warns U.S. spies may be weakening next-gen encryption. No, you don't say. We're going to have another OPM hack all over again from the first time, 7th time that we did this? Come on.
You got to say elliptic curve. Come on. It's a free spot.
That's what we did. That's
So-
what happened.
Free spot is me messing up the date and/or category.
I feel personally betrayed that this is what happened with the elliptic curve. Like, we are supposed to be the idealists. We're supposed to be the Picard of...
Now, I want to find the quote. So what happened here? Oh,
did we get paywalled? Oh, wait. Did it paywall the whole thing or just part of it?
I can't even tell.
It randomly scrolled. We got scroll hijacked.
But I can't find it. But read the article. So what's happening here is that this mathematician is saying they are multiplying when they should be adding for part of the formula. So it shows that their performance is wildly better than it is because obviously multiplication. Their response was, this is just a disagreement among very smart people, giving themselves the moniker of very smart people.
It's Dan Bernstein. He's the guy, one of the guys complaining. And if Dan Bernstein is complaining, you really should listen.
But they're acting like this is a debate, but this is mathematics, right? We should be able to concretely decide who's right here.
Doesn't this reduce the searchable key space by 17 orders of magnitude?
That's your opinion, bro.
Yeah.
And the income tax situation is just a nightmare in this country. And it's a nightmare because probably we have some corporations who, once again, have gained power and shaped regulation to prevent any sort of competition, even when said competition is the IRS.
The IRS will pilot a free direct tax filing system in 2024. Why? Because things have gotten so bad for the individual consumer that this is what's necessary.
Did you see there was a linked article at the bottom of this one? Scroll down. That was like an anime character. Yeah, scroll up a little bit. Anime dating sim that does your taxes for you.
Well, it got banned. Remember that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Steam
at all.
banned it because it was actually giving tax advice.
It asks for your social security number.
Yeah.
It's like, let's get to know each other. What's your social security? I'll
I
tell
think-
you, anime waifu.
I think TurboTax responded here, and they're like, "This is redundant and terrible. We shouldn't have it."
My favorite thing about this kind of thing is that the accounting industry actually tax like what percentage of U.S. citizens need to actually file taxes, and that is a ever shrinking percentage of taxpayers, which is
It's almost like they're gutting the middle class.
yeah. I mean, if you look at those kind of metrics, it's like, oh, it doesn't look like we're doing super good.
Also, this will be it doesn't exist yet, but this will be a like Q&A like wizard that walks you through your taxes, and they would not commit whether or not that would be artificial intelligence asking those questions.
Oh yeah, totally. This is a large language model that's doing your taxes incorrectly.
As a large language model, I can't help you do your taxes.
Yeah, if it makes the kind of mistakes that ChatGPT makes when programming, you're going to jail. And Google is weighing in on this whole thing about not letting the teens use the addictive social media.
Google asked Congress not to ban teens from social media
Surprising no one.
because effectively that would be banning them from the internet. But it turns out teens have a lot of money and they're very susceptible to suggestion.
Do they have money?
They have the parents' money. A lot of kids, I don't know. I've heard mixed things. So, like, I know some people who were surprised that, like, so many people here start working when they're like 16. Because I don't think that's always common in other places.
How
But
about that
here?
lack
People
debt?
desperately need money.
Does lack debt count as having money?
Well, what about the inherited debt? Well, last week we learned about the Chinese self-driving cars that may be spying on us and or weaponized. This week we have a new Chinese terror on our shores.
U.S. national security worries over Chinese Bitcoin mines. Apparently, I'm skeptical of this. It's like, oh, all those cryptocurrency operations came from China to the U.S. Okay.
They claim that with all that bandwidth and horsepower, they could just immediately switch over to cybercrimes, destroy us all.
Neat. Or large language models.
Some of them are also suspiciously positioned near airports or
Water treatment,
I think
electric.
there was a military base.
There's a large language model programmed only to help the party.
Wow, look, Reuters, what a terrible design they've got going on here with I guess the paywall causes that. So, yeah, we all have been following the horror that's going on in the Middle East. And there's a lot of misinformation. But it was similar with Ukraine. Who do you believe? What's going on? And once again, our lawmakers are blaming the social media companies.
So the Reuters headline is like, oh no, it's Google,
and TikTok.
X, which is Twitter, and TikTok are involved in this. But the thing that we want you to pay attention to is using this to try to shove through more regulations, which are poorly thought out because of some imminent crisis. Never let a crisis go to waste. Look for this playbook. You'll be surprised how often it happens when literally anything is happening.
So there was obviously a lot of fake stuff. There were like Unreal Engine footage used to saying that there were bombings and so forth. And they say that these social media companies need to immediately recognize and remove that. But who has the ability to do that?
You can't do that even if you're not the lowest page wage slave.
Yeah, it takes time to
Yeah.
make sure stuff's real or not.
They do claim that Mr. Musk stepped up his efforts and got rid of the stuff that they specifically pointed out. But then that's just going back to the whole like pipeline between power and censorship
Yeah.
with no questions. So, but when power uses almost those same exact tactics of taking something that isn't real and making it real, well, that's just fine.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams uses AI to make robocalls in languages he doesn't speak. And I thought this was maybe a little over the top, but there are recordings of this you can find. And so, this guy shows up and he's like, oh yeah, I totally speak Yiddish. You should vote for me as mayor. And it's like,
Hey, a lot of people might feel that way. It's like, oh my God, one of us, right? So he did Spanish, Yiddish, Mandarin. I think there was a couple others.
Creole. I want to hear that one. I couldn't find that one. Anybody got a link to that one?
That's going to be embarrassing if he's at like a press conference and someone asks him a question in one of those languages and he can't say anything.
Do you want some shrimp etouffee? Is that like a, it's like, I don't know. That's probably not like a real thing. I'm trying to come up with something really offensive, but I don't know what I don't know.
Culturally, what would be accurate?
That guy is such just a scummy piece of trash. My favorite clip of him is they caught him. He claims he's a vegan. They caught him eating fish. You got to watch that clip.
What's the word? There's a word for that. I've heard.
Pescatarian.
No, there's a different one. Like a
Jerk off.
there's another like funny phrase for people who only sometimes eat fish, but I can't remember what it's called.
Society has to break down when we've lost that level of human decency and just the social contract has been violated in at least 4 clauses there.
Flexitarian. Flexitarian. Sometimes I eat meat, but not always.
Well, yeah, society is going down, and a lot of people will blame that on artificial intelligence. And that includes this man who has quite a scary premonition.
SEC head, financial crash caused by AI, nearly unavoidable. And
You
he's
should
not,
listen to Gollum here.
he's not talking about the AI bubble. He's talking about the fact that all of the high frequency trading companies are using AI to a scary level already.
But as he well knows, they've been using a form of AI for a very, very long time.
And it turns out the last few flash crashes we've had have been because of a vanishingly small number of capital companies.
And here's a scare piece out of CNBC to just shamefully try to shape political opinion, but there's probably some truth in here.
The CNBC headline from Bing, thanks Bing, is Google, Amazon, and Apple could see antitrust bills put on hold if Jim Jordan is House Speaker. And again, like, this is okay. Whatever's going on here with, like, you know, the government machinery, fine, but using all of that to manipulate technology in order to control things is offensive.
Well, get ready to be offended, because that's exactly what's coming. And we live in this hellscape where our billionaires have almost as much political power as our leaders, and they're all horrible, horrible humans.
The Verge's headline is Peter Thiel was reportedly an FBI informant. Report from Insider alleges that Thiel passed info about foreign contacts and Silicon Valley intrigue to the agency starting in 2021. But again, Peter Thiel is so Machiavellian.
They also point out toward the end of the article that they have one source who is an ex-friend of his who was a little bit hurt because this guy didn't invest in his startups. And that guy's been known as a source of disinformation in the past.
I'm imagining a scenario where like he is an informant, but it's only about like petty stuff.
Well, they
Like,
pointed
did
out,
you know Sasha is dating Craig from accounting? And the FBI is like, I don't care.
according to this guy, the whistleblower, if you want to call him that, he actually refused to talk about any of his close friends, including Trump. He was just reporting on like other tech bros from conferences that he went to and stuff like that.
He uses tab, and the FBI is like, again, interesting, but not really relevant to what we're asking you about.
I'm just recalling the other stories that we have where, you know, wasn't there a German company or a Norwegian company where like the plans for a wind turbine rotor were stolen by the intelligence or, you know, by a law enforcement? It's like, here, company, have this. It's like,
That's green. So it's okay. And TikTok is still making the same old argument, and their enemies are still saying, bro, that's not true.
The CNBC or the CBC headline, so this is Canada, TikTok execs insist that China can't access user data during a meeting with MPs. It's backed up to China, but we can't access it unless we download it. And then we can access it.
And those Chinese admin accounts that were exposed at that one time.
Well, we have admin accounts, but we don't ever log into those. Don't worry about it. It's like, what? Okay. That doesn't...
Just don't think about that. Look at the funny scroll.
We can't access it while we're in this meeting with you. We have to go to this special secure room. Oh, yeah, then we can access it from there. That's fine.
Decrypt.co really has a tough time every week.
Is that a paywall alternative, I assume?
No, I don't think so.
Might be able to reload the page now that it's stopped doing whatever JavaScript madness. No? Okay.
No.
Yeah, we had this
It's just
problem
out.
before. Can you read the URL? I mean, we don't need to look at this page.
Oh, yeah.
Page unresponsive.
The headline from decrypt.co is Binance has withdrawn the ability to convert to U.S. dollars. They say because of regulations, but it could be solvency.
No, I think you're confusing these two.
Oh,
This is the one where they're not letting people in the UK open new accounts.
oh, okay. So Binance is having some problems right now. They're not letting people in the UK open new accounts.
And existing people, like they ruled against them somehow. So they're like, no, if you're going to say that, then we're just not going to do business here. But they have existing accounts. So I would not, if I was in the UK, I would not store anything in Binance right now.
And you also can't get stuff out as US dollars anymore. Oops.
I think this was the UK, right?
Yes.
This was not in the US, but remember Equifax? In 2017, we talked about the Equifax thing, and the prediction was this is going to end them as a company. The punishment here is going to be so overwhelming, they will never recover. And now this many years later, punishments are still coming, and you can just laugh at them.
Equifax fined $13.4 million following data breach. From 2017, 147.9 million customers were affected. Now, this is a UK financial watchdog that has issued this, and these were multinationals.
What's 147.9 divided by 13.4?
Well, not all of them were UK nationals, but yeah, this was a more severe punishment than anything that they faced here in the US.
But it's not much.
It's not much.
They will not notice that at the end of the year.
How many, nobody said how many multinationals were actually affected, at least not in this article.
And I have a feeling that some of the anti-China war hawks are feeling a little eclipsed this week because everybody's busy in the Middle East.
I'm not the prettiest girl at the ball anymore.
Right, and they've got to try to get some more PR by releasing these pieces.
The Reuters headline is Five Eyes intelligence chiefs are warning that China's theft of intellectual property is dramatically on the rise. And I was like, okay, what is this going to look like? And it turns out that apparently there's a team of hundreds of people that just recruit people on LinkedIn. Like they look at the social graph and it's like, oh, this person works at a company that has technology we want. Let's be friends with them. And so they're just paid to be friends. Oh yeah, 20,000 Britons approached by Chinese agents on LinkedIn, says MI5 head. This is apparently happening all over the world, which I guess is in preparation if China were to do something that the rest of the world would disapprove of, that they can just keep making whatever it is that they don't make internally. Probably, maybe, from British companies and American
Maybe
companies.
it's just really lonely Chinese people.
Yeah,
Hitting people up on LinkedIn.
I mean, there are billions of them.
It's weird how all the lonely Chinese have, worm downloads to email you.
Oh man, have you got the updated WinRAR? You should download the WinRAR update from me. It's like,
Who says WinRAR?
I don't know.
Asking the real questions.
And as we're talking about China, they actually have some good news this week.
Chinese scientists claim a record-smashing quantum computing breakthrough, 3 million times faster than its predecessor and light years ahead of the world's fastest supercomputer. Neat.
Fortunately for us, it's not cracking passwords just yet. It is simulating photons, which currently doesn't have a real-world application. And India is reversing course on a very controversial decision that they made.
India says they're not going to impose restrictions on laptop imports, according to officials, because their internal sources of laptops is not quite there yet. Maybe someday, but not today.
And I'm sure they got some concessions.
Yeah.
From some powerful companies. That's a big market. And we have several TSMC projects going on here in the US, and they all seem to be completely broken, and we might never see them fulfilled. But they're still expanding, and they're trying to expand everywhere. But they exist on a tiny little island where land is at a premium.
TSMC drops northern Taiwan site for advanced chip factory after protests.
Why the protests? They were going to steal people's houses.
People tend to get upset by that.
I mean, they were going to pay them for them, but these people didn't want to be paid for their houses. They were happy where they were.
I wonder too if it's like the price that they're going to pay would not accommodate the actual price of land and or houses anymore.
Anybody want to move to Arizona?
Especially in a hyperinflationary environment. I think I'll hang on to my assets, thanks. And here's some bad news if you have dumb family members and you're thinking, oh guys, this is old. You found an old one this week. Nope, it happened again.
Hacker leaks more 23andMe user records on cybercrime forum. So if any of your family have submitted family DNA to 23andMe, sorry, and or...
So 23andMe's original response to this was, yeah, this wasn't a hack. This was credential stuffing, and they don't actually have that many records. And so the response was, want to see? Let's show you more. They claim they have a staggering number. And once again, 23andMe says there's no way they have that many. No chance. And you've already covered this one.
Russia and China-backed hackers are exploiting WinRAR zero-day bug.
WinRAR.
That's how you knew they were Chinese spies. Come on.
Yeah. They, as usual, they are using job recruiting. Yeah. So I was like, hey, just unpack this here RAR file and fill out all these informations. And once you unpack it, you're done. Update your WinRAR.
Dear Jensen, would you like to be president of the world? Just fill out this PDF and we're going to elect you to be president of the world. Oh, that sounds amazing. Oh, it's not good.
And Android taking a little bit of a security step to protect us. Although some people I could see maybe not liking this in the terms of if, let's say that there was a side-loaded app that could, I don't know, defeat the YouTube ad blocker.
Android will now scan for side-loaded apps that have malware at install time. So, and this is doing a heuristic. This is not right now it's kind of like a naughty list. There is some minimal checking, but this is kind of a heuristic that's going to look inside the executable and see if it sees anything that's naughty.
And last week we heard about Google's embracing of passkey, and Amazon is following close behind them with so many caveats.
Amazon quietly rolls out support for passkeys, but Amazon's rollout has a catch.
The catch being that in most cases, you still have to use a password. And if you have two-factor turned on, you still have to use a password. And you still have to two-factor. So you kind of have to three-factor now.
Yeah. Theoretically, if you do this and you enroll your device, you're good on that device forever. Theoretically. So you don't have to constantly log into your Fire Stick because no one wants to log into your Fire Stick constantly.
And the Swiss are looking into e-voting. E-voting is an interesting idea. We clearly have no ability to run elections in this country. And I'd say most of the Western world is right here with us. But some security experts are taking a closer look at their solution.
Security vulnerability of Switzerland's e-voting systems from Bruce Schneier. So if Bruce Schneier gets your attention, he's got a really amazing blog post write-up of that. And it's not looking good for Switzerland's e-voting system.
So they will actually mail you a confirmation. The confirmation does not have information about what you voted for, so you're protected there. What you do is you take the code they give you, you go on the website, and you cross-check it against that. Now, the website does not know your code either. So it's actually an interesting situation of zero trust. However, these guys were easily able to put together a fake website that just captured your code and then married you to your choices, therefore uncovering who you voted for.
No. But that also uncovering who you voted for is also bad because then you can pay for votes, which is the thing.
Yeah. You have to try to keep that secret. People will be retaliated against for certain kinds of voting.
Or people will just be like, yes, give me $5 and I will vote this way.
I'm going to need at least 20. And whenever you have a system of transferring money and performing work, people will very quickly figure out ways to scam it and exploit it. That's exactly what happened to Uber. 2
Florida men have scammed more than $1 million out of Uber Eats by creating fake accounts and acting as both the customer and the courier, police say. It's actually pretty genius, but it's criminal.
So Uber gives you a cash card when you buy groceries for deliveries. So you're not spending your own money. These guys created a fake delivery service and they were the fake customers. So they would use the cash cards. They would go to the store. They would spend the money on gift cards, report that everything was delivered and everything was fine. But then they had gift cards.
It's actually pretty brilliant.
Well, until they got caught.
Yeah. So at what point do you okay, I've scammed enough here? It has to be before 1 million, I guess, right?
They did not do that soon enough.
Yeah.
And here's another man that didn't end his scam quickly enough, and hopefully he will pay for it.
FTX thief cashes out millions during Bankman-Fried trial. That headline is just that, hey, somebody's noticed that there's crypto leaving. It's leaving the blockchain during the trial. Somebody, I guess, was waiting to see how the trial was going to shake out. They're looking at how the trial is going, and they're saying, oh no, it wasn't real. I'm out.
Sure that somebody's trying to track that. They found some Ethereum transactions, and of course they're trying to mix the coins and hide it. Another one. Oh, Bloomberg. I do my best not to have Bloomberg, but it's so hard to avoid them sometimes. We have actually heard of these guys before. And here's a little bit of good news. Apparently, the sunshine that was shined on them from previous stories was detrimental to their existence.
Sandvine scraps plan to market tool in U.S. that tracks encrypted messages. So it would fingerprint the message in such a way that you could kind of see it through encryption. So maybe you could track its propagation across the web. People did not like that.
Well, some people that did like it were our spying agencies and leaders, but it was then exposed that they were looking to contract with these guys to get this technology. There was a little pushback. Good job, guys. Keep pushing. I know it feels a little Sisyphean at times, but what else can we do?
Well, like some of the first stories we were talking about, where it's like, oh, let's use the global crisis to push this through. This is exactly the kind of thing that they'll try to push through in a crisis, and then it never goes away once the crisis is over.
They just keep making new crises.
We didn't even need to renew all those terror laws because we already had them going from 2001. It's so convenient. And Google, their big thing this week is advertising, huh? Everybody who was just quietly ignoring it as best they could was suddenly slapped in the face with it. And we learned that not only are Google ads intrusive and horrible, but they're also a little dangerous.
Google hosted malvertising leads to fake KeyPass site that actually looks genuine. So this Ars Technica person apparently has never clicked on any kind of advertisement because that is a malicious ad. And there's lots and lots and lots of those if you go digging. You'll be shocked at how many there are.
And
the number of malicious ads will shock you.
And it always floats to the top, and it always looks like the real website it's designed to.
You notice the K has a little mark below it. That's because it's a different domain. There's multiple levels of failure here. Like they're not screaming about the .info registrar not letting this through, or the fact that it was able to get an encryption certificate. There's multiple levels of failure here, not just Google's. But yeah, this is the world we live in. Congratulations.
They're using extended characters to do fancy things here. So, I mean, the safety play is just never click on the ad. If it's an ad, they will label it as such, at least for now. Just never click on those.
Yeah.
And we see these every so often. This is an easy tech story to just roll out because it never stops being true.
Over 40,000 admin portal accounts use admin as the password. Actually, there's a table of, it's not just admin. It's admin demo. 1 2 3 4 5 6 root. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 1 2 3.
Oof.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
I like the people that go to the uppercase P password. It's like, oh, I'm going to trick them.
Got him.
They'll never think of trying this one. Spoiler alert.
They did.
They did.
And the U.S. government will, they are constantly looking to pull your data that's being harvested from private companies, mostly social media. And there's very little pushback when they do that. But in some cases, they're like, you know what, we're going to contract with a third party to make sure that our requests are always safe for our citizens.
Hackers target company that vets police data requests for tech giants. So law enforcement thinks it's too hard to ask different companies for emergency access to data in different ways because every different company has a different way of doing that. So that's what this company's like, oh, we can make sure that this is legit. But they themselves were targeted.
So did some people make illegitimate requests and get your data not as law enforcement, but as bad actors? I don't know. No one knows. They're not sure. It was possible.
Just be afraid.
Yeah. Imagine that companies don't want to waste time on pesky things like wiretap. It's like, oh, by law, this company should be able to look through your email. It's like, it's too much work to figure out if that's legit or not. Here, we'll just build this portal and give this company access that way, and then problem solved. Then we don't have to do that.
A portal they will be using more and more after the Colorado Supreme Court ruling.
Bingo.
This image should be an album cover.
Yeah,
That would be a great album cover.
Oh,
it's like,
look at this.
Oh, they had a good faith reason to want to search literally everybody's stuff. It's not intrusive because you don't feel it. They're not dumping all the contents of your car on the ground, and you can't like take a picture of like the horrifying aftermath. That doesn't mean that I don't feel that horrible aftermath because I understand what's involved.
I feel like my search engine history would just be really embarrassing. Like just stupid stuff. Like basic stuff that I would just, how do I do that again? Let me Google it.
They had a good faith belief should not be cause to go through my stuff.
I feel like that with ChatGPT. Like the embarrassing thing about ChatGPT is how often I go for this like really basic stuff.
Yeah. It's like I could spend 3 seconds thinking really hard about how to do this, or I could just type it in really fast.
It is a great resource for the like, I don't know how this works and I'm too afraid to ask.
It seems to work. Yeah, it's just I forgot the syntax for something, and my prompt was literally like, "This is what I'm trying to do. I forgot the syntax for this. It's something like this," and it was like, "Oh yeah, I got you, fam. Here you go." And I was like, "Oh, thanks."
What does this variable mean in this? And it's like, oh, it does a good job of actually explaining that. That makes perfect sense. It's the helper that we always needed, but maybe not worth
The cost.
destroying our society. Tomorrow we'll talk about business news.
There's so much.
Social, right?
Here's something to get hyped for. Maybe in the mirror image of hype, the return of the collapse section.
Hey.
A big one this week.
There's so much. Patreon and Flowplane. Woo! Nervous laughter.
Thank you. Bye.